Hello to my Flickering Myth family out there, and welcome to my channel. My name is EJ, and I just got out of what I think is one of the best movies I've seen all year. Holy smokes, we need to talk about Killers of the Flower Moon. When I was originally kind of planning out how I wanted to handle this review, I thought I would put this into a new kind of review category I've done. Is it overrated or is it just right? But my goodness, those words don't even fit how excellent this movie is. Killers of the Flower Moon is Martin Scorsese on a different level. He is just moving at a weird tone, a weird pace. This movie can be definitely a bit too slow for others. I actually found it to be thrilling for the 3 hours. I was really gripped. I think there's some slow moments here or there, but with a 82-year-old filmmaker and like an 80-something-year-old editor, you could see that we're gonna have to slow things down, and we're definitely letting moments breathe. But there's life and energy. I think the first act of this movie, while it's a bit overstuffed, it breezed by a lot of stuff. Again, a lot of things are handled in this movie. There's a lot of dark tragedy. There's a weird bit of humor to it as well, but there's also just a lot of things to say. Scorsese, for the first time I feel like in quite some time, has a point of view. He's angry. He has something he wants to talk about, and it is the Osage murders. It is what the government did, what the government didn't do. He is a filmmaker that has a point of view, and I love Martin Scorsese always comes into a project with something to say. It's not like he's a director who just blindlessly makes movies that are just easy to consume. There's always something to it, but this to me feels like Scorsese at his angriest, at his most thought-provoking, at his most compelling. This to me is one of his best movies he's made in quite some time. In Oklahoma, members of the Osage Nation are dying in very brutal ways that are often not even investigated. So when our character Ernest, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, moves into town, he's moving into a town that has a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving parts. How does he fit into this? He has his very, very mysterious and obviously evil uncle, played by Robert De Niro, and he also ends up meeting a woman he falls in love with named Molly. This relationship really unfolds in front of our eyes, and it's kind of compelling watching them flirt for a little bit, and it's cute, but there's always a dark underlining to everything. We're seeing, like, the King character, played by Robert De Niro, pull the strings. We're watching Ernest be the dumbest human being I have seen in some time. The words I could not. Leonardo DiCaprio is fabulous in this movie. We'll talk about how good I think the acting and everything else is around it. But this character, pathetic, miserable. I hate Ernest. Leonardo DiCaprio brought so much out of this character because by the end of it, I wanted to shake him, slap him, and kick him out of the damn universe. He was so frustrating. And then we have Lily Gladstone, who plays Molly, as a breath of fresh air. She is the hero of the story. She is, to me, the big part, the heart and the soul of this movie. As much as Leo is the lead, and he really does command his leading role, Lily Gladstone as Molly is why you should watch this movie. She brings so much life into this movie. Again, I'll talk about all of it, but the Molly character, I just think, was so compelling, and she was so well acted and well realized in a universe that is filled with some pretty bombastic characters, some pretty big actors, and the way this character stood out to me, I was rooting for her, and I was just really wanting her to do well and make some things right. This is definitely a story that is brutal, there is almost no justice. There is just nothing almost positive out of this movie. It's a dark, brutal film, but there is, like, in moments of levity, there is really fun character work, there is some really interesting action pieces, not like action that you think of nowadays, but there's some really compelling violence, and the way they handle certain, like, moments, it really sticks with you, and then when things, like, really escalate, it really slaps you in the face, and you're waiting for the characters, like Ernest, to really get what the hell's going on, but until the very end, he is the most frustrating person. My goodness. But then, then the what will turn into the FBI starts showing up, the Bureau of Investigation. The guy there is played by Jesse Plemons, a really good addition. By the time he comes into the film in the last, like, hour and a half, I was just like, ooh, Give me more of this. I actually wanted a bit more of the investigation, a bit more of the trial. That's one of the only negatives I have in the story department. We built up our story pretty well, but by the time we got to like the juiciest things, by the time we were like getting to stuff that I'm like, ooh, I can spend hours here. We were having to really start wrapping things up. It's conflicting. Again, I think this movie's like a masterpiece. I don't know what I would edit out. Yes, it is long. It is 3 hours and like 20 something minutes. It is very long, but I don't know what I would change. I would tighten things up. I would maybe flesh out certain things in a different part of it, but I'm like, yeah, here I would put this here, maybe talk about this earlier, maybe don't talk about this at all. There are certain things I would change, but those are just small things in an overall film that is beautiful to look at, well acted, well scored, well directed. It's just a masterpiece from Scorsese, and this is a man who bangs out masterpieces, but he's on a different level with what he wants to say and do here. With Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese at the helm, you know this is an instant awards contender. Just by those two being involved, it was instantly going to like kind of get shoved to the Oscar race, but what a deserved film. This movie for me is like best picture, best director, best actor, best actress, best adapted screenplay. At this moment, I would award this movie with the big five. And I know you don't come to me for the prestige movie take, so take that with a grain of salt. But I mean, Barbie is like my favorite movie of this year. Across the Spider-Verse, these are really fun blockbustery movies that I think will stick with me more personally. But this movie, to me, so far is the best that I've seen this year. It's firing on all cylinders. We're watching Scorsese direct a script. We're watching Scorsese have his longtime editor try to filter out his madness, and she does the best that she can. You can tell she's like, I need to cut this, but God, there's so much strong editing moments, strong choices where we cut certain moments, where we added a certain old school flair to something, and it never felt gimmicky or cheesy, especially the very end of this movie that could feel very gimmicky, but it actually impacted me much more. This movie was so well crafted, and then you have the acting. Goodness, I forget Leonardo DiCaprio is like the greatest actor we have living today. There's so many great actors, and there's so many people who do what they need to do, but Leo, he gives me everything here. Not only is he the most disgusting, ugly, pathetic character he's ever played, and thank goodness, I'm so glad the glitz and glamour of a Leo character is gone. This is back to like The Revenant. This is dirty, messy, and chaotic, and I absolutely love that from Leo. I could see him really taking home some awards because of how free he feels. And, you know, when he does do his signature Leonardo DiCaprio big, outbursty moments, those impact you more because he's been so quiet along the way. Speaking of quiet, Lily Gladstone is a very stoic character. The character of Molly is so she's hard to read at times, and I don't know if that is a cultural thing with Native American people. They're often a very, you know, they keep things into themselves. There's times where she's telling Ernest like, shut the hell up, you're speaking too much. So I enjoyed her quietness, but when she's facing some illness, when she starts dealing with a lot of grief in her life, this is where Lily really picks up and proves to me that she's one of the strongest actresses in this year's award race. She just gets what needs to be done. She's handling against some heavyweights. Most of her scenes are with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he is, again, an Oscar winner, multiple time nominee, one of the most recognizable actors in the world, and she just seamlessly blends into it and just works well. And then Robert De Niro. Robert goddamn De Niro, he feels motivated, he feels awake, he feels like, I often call this man a grumpy old man who just doesn't want to be here. Very Harrison Ford energy, where I'm like, why are we calling De Niro? He doesn't want to be out of his house. He wanted to be out of his house. He wanted to leave and give a best performance in a long time. He is villainous, disgusting. Like, as much as as pathetic as Ernest is, the King character is pathetic and cocky and scary, and there's just so many layers to this role. I love the best supporting actor race so far with like Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., Ryan Gosling. There are some strong Coleman Domingo for Color Purple. There are some really strong actors showing the hell out this year in that supporting category, and I cannot believe De Niro is creeping up frontrunner status for me. He ate the hell out of this role. All the actors, again, Brendan Fraser's in this movie for not, I want want more. He's in the more trial courtroom stuff. Wanted more of him. Jesse Plemons. Oh my goodness. I mean, Sturgill Simpson. There is so many actors. So many actors. I mean, the Native American cast. There's this one chief character who has a kind of an extended monologue talking about wanting to lead the investigation. Gripped, compelled. This movie just punches you in the face with just the showmanship, just how well made everything is, how well acted. The craftsmanship is out of this world. Holy smokes, Martin Scorsese is pissed in this movie. He has something he needs to get off his chest, and boy does he. He has some shit he needs to talk about. He must have read the book that this is based on and said, I need to talk about the Osage Nation and get my feelings out about this. This movie is such a great story about who to trust, who not to trust. When you are a minority group and you want to, expand and do well for yourself, but that also means inviting people who maybe aren't in your circle in, and the dangers of that, the dangers of the government, how incompetent they can be at times, how they often overlook murders of brown and black folk all the damn time. It's crazy. I mean, this movie touches on the Tulsa massacre as well that happened, something I did not expect from this movie. They talk about the Osage Nation and what's happening to Native American people and getting pushed out and then having to almost, they were here first and then having to kind of beg for their land back, even though they struck gold, with all the oil. My goodness, there's so much being talked about here. And I often feel Scorsese likes his mob movies. He likes his crime dramas, which often are packed with themes and topics to talk about. There's so much talk. I mean, Scorsese is one of those directors who often realizes toxic masculinity and how shitty it is to be a man sometimes. He does that the best out of most filmmakers. I think vastly underrated. That's why most of his movies are about men, because men are never depicted well. Leonardo DiCaprio is easily one of the worst people I've ever seen. But what I like here is, again, there is a social commentary here. There is personal messages that you can see. Scorsese is a man that has probably went through and seen so much tragedy and so much loss. And now he's like, I need to get this off my chest. This feels like an older filmmaker reflecting on life, but not about himself,
There must have
but
been
about
Indian for
the
handsome
culture
devil.
and what's been happening and the anger that he feels of what
The
happened
nicest
and the
man in the world.
injustices here. It's crazy to see
Osage.
Scorsese come so angry and so focused. This has the energy of a young filmmaker with a lot on their chest, but he's coming in very established near the end of his career saying, hell, I have more to do. Do not count me out. And I won't ever again, Scorsese. I will not ever again. Well, that is it for my review of Killers of the Flower Moon. I did not expect to walk out with a 5-star review for this movie, but 5 stars. Perfect. Give it the big 5 at the Oscars. One of the best movies I've seen this year. Again, not a personal favorite. I don't know if I ever want to watch this again. It's a brutal, long movie, but goodness, it stuck with me. It buried itself into my soul. I was going to originally do this review in the morning, after I had time to reflect on it, but I've reflected. I've thought this movie it's just wow. Wow, 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 wow. Definitely check it out when you get a chance. What did you think of this movie? What do you think of this review? Share your feelings down in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. And make sure you guys subscribe to Flickering Myth because we make videos like this every single week. All right, everyone. Let's talk about Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon, the Oscar race, all of that right down below.